for the Ask Me Anything that's taking place on March 13th, 2025. I'm doing this from my phone. If it looks a little bit different, usually I do it from the dual monitor setup I have on my desk, and I could use my phone to look at stuff, but for some reason, the desktop version of YouTube Live has not worked like the last 2 or 3 weeks in a row, so maybe we'll have to continue to do it like this. So hopefully this works well. We'll dive right into stuff. I got all the questions called up, and I've got some cool shout outs as well. So these shout outs were really awesome. We get new members every day joining Linchpin, and we had a new member within a couple days ago posted like, hey, I'm new here and just kind of curious, what does everybody like? And people wrote just the coolest stuff. So I'm going to share that. I usually share PRs and stuff like that, but these are cool also. This is from Shauna K. This was her response. So happy to see you here. I think you're going to love it. So when I switched last year, I guess on the old gymmer program that she was at, we were in the middle of a rigorous squat cycle in my old programming, and due to some nagging hip pain, I just couldn't handle the volume. I felt like I limped into Linchpin with the hip pain, elbow pain, and plantar fasciitis off and on. In the last year, almost all those injuries have cleared up due to all the knowledge I've gained through the daily videos and the Linchpin Conversations podcast, as well as all the different options offered each day. I feel like if I was dealing with an injury again, I had the tools to still be able to scale the workouts and work around it. I've learned so much being here, it's crazy. In addition to my fitness IQ increasing so much, I love the modulating intensity approach. Like another member mentioned, I don't feel like I need a deload week every 6 to 8 weeks. I feel more capable to send it when the workout calls for it. Lastly, I like the freedom of not having strength plus Metcon every day. We can do longer strength sessions or longer strength and conditioning workouts, longer named workouts like Angie or monostructural days. And on that same note, Linchpin actually gives the heavy days the respect that they deserve. Prior to Linchpin, I might take 30 to 60 seconds rest between sets on a strength lift, and that isn't nearly enough. Those sessions now feel better, and I feel so much stronger now that I can take my time and give everything on those days. Man, 100%. I mean, I can't imagine doing some rushed session trying to squeeze something into an hour and having to take 30 to 60 seconds between a heavy lift. Like, no wonder things aren't going well. And this will be the last one I'll read here. This is from Kurt L. This is what he wrote. I've never seen such explosive growth in my conditioning and lifts as I have since coming here in late 2022. I'm a personal trainer who wants to be working on 30,000 things all at the same time, but I don't have the brain capacity to program for myself after programming for all my clients. After coming to CrossFit in early 2020 and drinking the Kool-Aid, I saw that they were onto something that I was missing with classic powerlifting and some calisthenics and kettlebells. I scoured the internet for a good balanced program and saw a few people mention Linchpin in Reddit, so I signed up. As a trainer, let me tell you, Pat's got it figured out. Much appreciated, Kurt, that's very cool. The balance of short, medium, long, heavy, light, etc., working on skills and progressions, respecting the heavy days for all they are, and doing what is necessary for fitness and strength, even if it's not enjoyable or commonly programmed. Not for time, quality days, or absolute genius. My training IQ has gone up 300% since I joined. I coach my own clients better as a result. That's it. It just stinking works. My knees, back, and shoulders all still feel good, and the community here is fantastic. I feel like I'm friends with these folks here on Facebook. Just excited to see what they've done. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. Thanks for asking. Very cool. Okay, so that's awesome. Let's dive into the questions. Sorry, I got my beverage here. I'm still getting caffeinated. The only thing which is kind of bad about me using my phone, since the desktop version of YouTube Live is not working, is I don't think I can see like comments, which is bad. On the desktop one, I can see comments as they roll in, so we'll see. All right, question number 1 from Chris U. On our scheduled off days, do you prefer people not do any structured training, or would it be wise to do a 30 to 45 minute low intensity zone 2 type day? Honestly, Chris, absolutely either one is fine. Hopefully that's not an unsatisfying answer, but it is really true. It depends on your life, your circumstances, your goals, and what your body can tolerate. I mean, going for a 30 to 45 minute low intensity deal on the bike, the rower, um, out for a run, whatever it happens to be, that's wonderful. That's a wonderful way to spend your time. Maybe going for a ruck. Um, and there's benefit there if your body can tolerate that. Does that now, are your legs like, oh, even though it's low intensity, I wish it didn't do anything with me, and now that affects the workouts that are coming up, then that would be a negative. You might be able to, oh, I can actually see comments. Kate, hold on. Total rest might be great for a lot of people as well. There's not one right or wrong answer. It just depends on what you can tolerate. I would say it's important to realize that, again, unless you're eating like a drunken pirate through the week, you don't need to do anything on the rest days. Okay, so it's a need versus want sort of a thing. If you feel like that's what you want to do, good to go. So, all right, here we go. And next one is from Brian T. In your programming history, have you ever felt like things were becoming repetitive, either in the same 4-week block or over a longer period of time? No. Joshua S. Not really a question, but more of a shout out to the VNR podcast this week. Oh, cool! I'm glad that you enjoyed that. So every Tuesday there's a new Very Not Random episode that drops, and the last one that we did was with Chris Rollins, who's profoundly involved with like the jump rope master, and it was all about the jump rope. I recommend everyone check that out. I really enjoyed the conversation as well. But Joshua says, not really a question, but more of a shout out to the VNR podcast this week. I really enjoyed the interview with Chris, you, and Boz. You guys did a great job with questions. I didn't really expect much from this one, but it quickly became one of my favorites. Some great stories and great advice, and so true that jumping rope can be a very functional movement with all the variations that can be done. I never really thought about it that way. So true. I thought it was an eye-opening episode as well, to the jump rope being a tool capable of much broader use than maybe a lot of us give it credit for. Craig S. I did the long walk workout, which was our Linchpin monthly fitness test, which I believe took place on Monday, aka the Devil, which is a 1.5 mile run for time, 1 minute rest, and then you do a 1 mile suitcase carry with either a 53-pound kettlebell for men or a 35-pound kettlebell for women. And that 1 mile suitcase carry, as compared to a farmer's carry, when you have something in both hands, you just have one object, so it's unilateral, it's on one side, and you cover a mile with that. You can stop whenever you need to stop, switch hands whenever you need to switch hands, you just cover the mile. So that's what he's talking about when he says the long walk. I did the long walk workout on an assault runner at a non-CrossFit gym. How did that feel? Interesting doing it on the assault runner. I actually played with it a little bit on the air runner in my garage because it was a little drizzly outside. Hated it. And I went outside and did it in the drizzle. I didn't like doing it on the air runner. During it, I had several people come up and ask what I was doing. Fair enough, fair question. And why I just didn't do double kettlebells at a lighter weight. What's your reasoning for that? I know that we do farmers carries. Got a few ideas. Curious as to what you think. So Michael F. gave a great answer as well. And he said, short explanation, the difference between suitcase carry and a farmer's walk. The suitcase carry, the weight is held on one side of the body only. Creates an asymmetrical load that challenges your core stability and lateral muscles, mimics carrying a heavy suitcase or bag in one hand, forces your body to resist lateral flexion, aka side bending. Great for developing anti-lateral flexion strength and oblique engagement. Yes, true. But when I first came up with this Linchpin monthly fitness test, it went through a lot of iterations and I got lost in some rabbit holes that occurs every now and then. And one of the rabbit holes that I got lost in, I really liked it. It had a military kind of a flavor to it. And that, without question, is why we're doing the suitcase carry. And I found that original link, article, post, or whatever, and I'll read it to you here. It might take me a couple minutes to read, but hopefully it answers your question quite thoroughly and gives some great context as to why we're doing this. So let's see. The Kettlebell Mile Challenge is simple but not easy. I first came across it via another website, the School of Strength, founded by Pavel, who's like, a kettlebell guru of anyone who's into kettlebells knows the name. The actual author of the challenge is Mike Prevost, who I relied on a lot in my early articles on rucking. I really wanted to get Mike on the podcast early on, but a combination of my own burnout, Mike's busy schedule, blah, 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 blah. So he published an article in May of 2021, um, but that wasn't the first time he brought up. Sorry, I'm trying to get to the actual interesting stuff. The challenge is simple enough. Carry a kettlebell in one hand, suitcase style, while you cover 1 mile on foot. It's 24 kilograms or 53 pounds for men, 16 kilograms or 35 pounds for women. The background of the challenge: the kettlebell mile is the product of a 2-decade-long search for a way to simultaneously train strength and aerobic capacity. Mike has a career-long interest in the mechanics of loaded movement. It started with his observations during his time in the Marine Corps Mountain Warfare Training Center, where he observed, this is the part that caught my interest. Sorry, it took me a while to get here. Where he observed that the best runners were often terrible at rucking, and the large guys who were not good at running often led the rucks. And that spoke to me because I saw that with my own eyes during my time in the military. His research eventually showed that strength is a better indicator of ruck performance than cardiovascular endurance when it comes to heavy loads. As the loads became lighter, cardio endurance became more important. He long theorized that there should be some sort of middle tipping point where strength and aerobic capacity were equally challenged. While working with runners as an exercise physiologist at the U.S. Naval Academy, Mike came across an interesting way to strengthen hip muscles. He observed that poor running gait often connected with poor hip stability, and so the task was improving that stability. Hip stability and asymmetric load. After a few different experiments, which included rucking, Mike eventually tried a suitcase carry position with one hand. The asymmetric load on one side of the body required more muscular effort on the trunk to compensate for it. This naturally strengthened the hip stabilizers and began to correct the gaits. While farmers' carries and similar exercises are not new, they are typically done over shorter distances. By extending the required distance to a mile, it dramatically increases the strength and endurance component. At the same time, it's safer than running with a ruck because the runner can drop the weight at any time to prevent injury. Okay. Completing the challenge. First of all, this challenge is not easy. If you are not accustomed to one-sided load carries, then you should work up to doing the challenge weight, etc., etc. We told you how to do it. And so, anyway, here, for the people that do this all the time in the military, and they're just always going along, and they got rucks on their back and all this, he established level 1, 2, and 3, and man, you are cooking with that suitcase carry to get some of these times. Level 1 requires completing the mile in 16 minutes or less. Level 2 requires completing it in 12 minutes or less. And level 3 requires completing the mile in 10 minutes or less. Isn't that absolutely insane? While moving the weight, it must be carried in one hand, switch whenever you want, etc., etc. Good luck and have fun. The clock does not stop until you finish. So that, my friend, is the inspiration and why we put that in there. And I think it's super cool, fun, and challenging. Okay, here we go. Craig S. Second question. I don't have a set of rings for ring muscle-ups, and I always substitute 1-to-1 for bar muscle-ups. Should I modify the number or just call it good enough? I would call it good enough at 1-to-1. Jody D. When I do box jumps, I rely a lot on the arm swing to get momentum from my jump. Your video yesterday said the purpose that we did was for explosive hip drive. Should I be trying not to use my arms on box jumps? Jody, honestly, I wouldn't worry about that, especially like yesterday, the box jumps that we did before the cleans. You get to choose the height of the box, and so if you chose a height that when you eventually found yourself on top of the box, it was challenging to get there, and yes, you're using a combination of hip drive and your arms are involved there as well for some momentum. I don't think the lion's share of how you're getting your body up onto that box was due to what was happening with your arms. The overall lion's share was what was happening with the hips and the arms to provide a little bit of extra oomph or whatnot. but not to the point that I would say you have to worry about that in any way, shape, or form. Let's see. Okay, sorry, I had to expand something here. From Habib A. I just joined a month ago and I love it so far. I'm taking my time to learn technique and build up my fitness. What should be what should be going right before I start mixing in the accessory work? Also, there's been a lot of focus on pull-ups, more so than any other movement in the last 4 weeks. Is that something that is fundamental and I can expect to see continue? Great question, my friend. Two parts here. And I'll debunk one of them, that there's been a lot of pull-ups in the last 4 weeks. So, what should be going right before I start mixing in the accessory work? First of all, good for you. You said I'm taking my time to learn technique and build up my fitness. Winning. My friend, you are winning. You are doing it right. Keep doing that. Second part, what should be going right before I start mixing in the accessory work? Well, the accessory work, as I say all the time, it truly is optional. It really is. You never, ever, ever need to do a single piece of accessory work for your entire time on the planet to be wonderfully fit and ready for life. Truth. Oh, then why is it there? Because it does have value for individuals who have built up a certain tolerance to it, are looking for potentially a little bit something extra, or they have truly identified, most of us need to improve in everything, and the workout of the day will do that. But they've maybe truly identified that, yes, while I need to improve in everything, this one thing is holding me back far more than anything. And I'm going to give it a general category. Below parallel strength, my squatting strength, hinging at the hip, upper body pulling capacity, such as pull-ups. It's my conditioning, fill in the blank, whatever it happens to be. And then you can seek out the optional accessory pieces that really hone in on that little area that you truly and honestly have identified as a little bit of extra attention would go a long way for you. If and when you decide to do that, more is not always better. So like I say, take a crawl, walk, run approach. Don't just jump into doing the accessory work 5 times a week for generally there's 2 pieces and both pieces with all the reps. That's probably going to be way too much going from 0 to that. Try it 2 times a week and don't do it all. Cut the reps in half. How does your body feel? If are things still going in a good direction? Is your motivation still high? Are you overtrained or under recovered? Like all of that stuff. Then you might try 3 times a week like that, and just this baby step approach, okay? But you're doing what you should be doing, which is the pathway is mechanics, consistency, and then intensity. So mechanics, make sure that you're moving well, that you're doing the movements properly. We don't care what the load is. We don't care what the speed is. We don't care what the time on the clock says. Move well. Learn what you're doing. Then you want to make sure that you're doing those mechanics consistently, properly. Not just for the first couple of reps, but if it's a 21:59, they all should look good. And when you start to huff and puff a little bit, they continue to look good. And as the loadings change a little bit, they continue to look good because you've built up that capacity. So mechanics, then consistency. This is just classic, CrossFit, Greg Glassman 101 stuff. Then and only then do you worry about intensity. It's the last thing that you worry about. Too many people put that first. I did back in 2005. It was a dumb thing to do. I didn't know any better. And then intensity, realizing that intensity, it's a relative thing. It's relative to your capacity and your physical and psychological tolerances. And at the end of the day, intensity just means that you're working hard. You're getting outside your comfort zone. You're pushing your limits intelligently. You're not being reckless. You're not being stupid. You're not being unintelligent. You're working hard because that's what's going to get you to the finish line. With regards to, what did you say here? There's been a lot of focus on pull-ups in the last 4 weeks. I would respectfully say that I think you're looking at that through an improper lens. Pull-ups is one particular movement that falls into a bucket, and that bucket is upper body pulling. Upper body pulling is, you could say, one of the gross movement patterns that we're going to focus on and try to hit a couple times a week usually. Upper body pulling, there's going to be upper body pressing, there's going to be hinging at the hip, there's going to be below parallel, etc., etc. Those are big buckets of gross movement patterns that we're going to try to touch a couple times a week. And each one of those buckets has multiple ways in which we can achieve that. That below parallel one could be back squat, front squat, overhead squat, squat snatch, full clean and jerk, air squats, wall balls, walking lunges, box step-ups, kickstand squats. I mean, that's all in the same bucket. And then in that upper body pulling bucket, pull-ups is one of many ways. And so I went back just to make sure that I wasn't crazy. And here's what we've done in the last, including this week. I went back this week and the 3 previous weeks, and this is what we've done for upper body pulling. And I think you'll see that it's not just pull-ups, but yes, we try to do upper body pulling a couple times a week. I'll let the cat out of the bag. On Saturday, we've got ring muscle-ups coming up. So this particular week, ring muscle-ups are happening on Saturday. Earlier in the week, we had rope climbs with your legs. There's our 2 upper body pulls. Neither one's a pull-up. Last week, we had strict pull-ups early in the week, and then we had kipping pull-ups later in the week. The week before that, we had ring rows earlier in the week, kipping chest to bar later in the week. And the week before that, we had L-sit rope climbs earlier in the week, and then later in that week, jumping pull-ups. So variance is a wonderful thing. And so I would look at that through the lens of upper body pulling, and then we have a whole bunch of ways to accomplish that. Okay, those were the questions from the Facebook group, and now I'll hit the ones from the Linchpin squad and the BTWB app, but I'm going to have just a little bit of caffeine first. Okay. From Mike M. I'm pushing 50 and I have some pretty long-standing mobility issues. Nothing like a past surgery, just a really tight person. Hello, Mike. You and I are spirit animals, my friend. I'm a very tight person. I have been my entire life. Regardless of the time I put into it, I'm just not Gumby, never have been, probably never will be. I'm currently 49 years old. I will be 50 this year. And I have had some good surgeries. A complete level 5 AC tear, which actually I didn't have a surgery, but I just let it recover. My shoulder's never been the same. I broke my pelvis way back in the year 2000, got plates and screws to hold that back together. That military injury eventually caught up with me and led me to have a full and total hip replacement in November of 2023. So I'm a year post total hip replacement. All of that on top of about to turn 50 and being a very tight athlete. So, Mike, when I say that I hear you and that I understand where you're coming from, my friend, those are not empty words. So, my question is this. Whenever squat snatches are programmed, I do split snatches. There just is not a world where I can be at the bottom of a squat, have a bar overhead with my shoulder mobility. Amen, brother. I hear you. Is this a good substitute, or is there something else you would recommend? I don't seem to be limited that much by weight, as I can repeatedly rep 150 pounds plus this way. Thanks. Wow, well done, my friend. First of all, I guess the short answer to your question is no, you're fine. Keep doing the split squats. You'll be totally fine. Just whenever they come up, you split squat. I check in with you at the end of the year. Life's great. Don't feel the need to force yourself into the bottom of a 2-footed full squat snatch if that feels harmful, bad, injurious, and painful. Don't do that at all. Split snatch your way to just success and freedom, my friend. One of the CrossFit OGs, just a beast, Josh Everett, who I grew up watching him in CrossFit. He split snatched. That was just what made sense to him. He had the same sort of mobility issues, and you would not be upset if you had his physical prowess and capability. So you'll be good to go. And this is a more broad general concept that I won't get lost down a rabbit hole, but look, it gets back to kind of the gross movement patterns thing that I touched on with Habib, which is we've got a whole bunch of different ways to accomplish our goals. And as your fitness IQ, your strength and conditioning IQ increases, you'll understand the freedom and flexibility you have to achieve the intent of the workout that day, even if it has to look a little bit different for you. And you're doing that, Mike, by split snatching instead of squat snatching. We've got plenty of people who just snatching doesn't treat their shoulders well at all. And so on those days, they clean and jerk because they can full clean or power clean and jerk or whatever it happens to be. That feels great to them. So they're never going to snatch again for the rest of their life. They're going to be just fine with the clean and jerk. Totally just fine. Some people, you get something going on with your knee, your hip, your ankle, and sadly, you're never going to run again. It's just one of those things, which is a shame because running and sprinting is so powerful and potent and amazing. But you're just not going to do it. It just doesn't treat your body well. It's injurious. So you're going to spend all of your time on the bike or rower. Is that ideal? No, it would be ideal if your body wasn't just in agony. But will your fitness be fine because that's what you have to do? Yes, your fitness will be fine. And so making those smart decisions so that you can continue to train, that's what we're looking for. From JP, the Bergner warm-up is such a great drill to improve your weightlifting at low intensity more often. You're doing it multiple times a week in a warm-up and cool down. Is there an equivalent for gymnastics? Gymnastics is a big, so the Bergner warm-up is snatching. Gymnastics, that's a big word. So a warm-up for what part of gymnastics, I would say? Muscle ups, handstand walks, body weight movements such as push-ups, pull-ups, dips, or whatnot. So I'm not sure in that big bucket of gymnastics if you're looking for a warm-up that would do all of those things or different ones that would touch on those. But JP, I know that I watch your stuff. I know that you're a smart guy. If you've got some input or interesting things, you want to kick them around, come up with a little bit something, post it in the private Facebook group, and myself and other people will check it out. It could be really cool to come up with something like that. Let's see. Dan W. One more drink first. Here we go. It's gone. That was the last drink. So sad. So sad. Dan W. To help me be consistent with working out, I have committed to doing 3 workouts a week. This is what I can fit in with life's responsibilities and other goals. First of all, my friend, awesome. Because look, sounds like you're in a tough phase of life. Free time is at a minimum for you. Things are busy. Do you know how many people would have just said, I'm in a tough phase, life's hectic, work's tough, I don't have a lot of time, I'm just gonna stop working out. Most people, my friend, most people aren't eating well and most people aren't working out. So the fact that you decided to just be disciplined and dedicated and do something, you're already winning. Regardless, whatever the rest of the question is, you're winning. And by the way, 3 workouts applied appropriately. And as I say, you're not eating like a drunken pirate the rest of the time. You can still become a beast. I try to choose the heavy day, a longer monostructural day, and a fast burner. Not bad choices. Then I try to hit below parallel and if possible, prioritize a benchmark, a checkpoint, or a named workout. Dan, you're making me so happy. And you're, again, I love the strength and conditioning IQ, the fitness IQ when I see it come out in our community. He's looking at the gross movement patterns as well, getting back to that same thing that I mentioned with Habib, right? Like there's different buckets and we have multiple different ways to achieve the goals in those buckets. So he's not just looking at the workouts, he's looking at the time domains, he's looking at weightlifting, he's looking at monostructural. Do I have these 3 workouts, but I picked the ones that aren't below parallel? Oh, I missed out on that. Like, that's phenomenal. Phenomenal things are happening with this question. Let's see. I think I might be missing out on those classic not for time strength and conditioning days. As I often don't have back-to-back training days, I can go at higher intensity. That's cool. That's a positive of the 3 days of training. Is there anything I should do to maximize the benefits of the days that I do the workout? Well, if you're feeling good, if you recovered enough, and it sounds like you are, because it says you can train with some good intensity because you're not doing back-to-back workouts and you're doing 3 training sessions a week. You're making smart decisions with the workouts that you're getting. Make sure you get enough sleep, eat well, and then the other piece is intensity drives results, right? I mean, period, end of story. And so if you can apply intensity to those 3 training sessions, I think you're totally good to go. If I had to look at this, first of all, there's nothing wrong with what you've selected. I think you've done really well. If I had to maybe just give something to think about, and this is also should be based upon you, like maybe those longer monostructural days are an area that you really need to improve. cool. But you could have a longer monostructural day that's just running, biking, or rowing, or a longer workout that's also a mixed modality. You get a lot of bang for your buck out of everything, but especially out of the mixed modality. So you could either potentially swap around either every week or every other week that just long monostructural piece for a longer mixed modality workout with lighter weights, or you could also choose a not super long workout, but like a 15 to 20 minute ish time frame mixed modality workout on that, and then get your 3 workouts in that way. That one might be the only thing that I would say, but I think you are on an absolutely excellent trajectory. Okay, Deborah F. How do I choose a load for the kickstand squats when you don't quite have the strength for a pistol squat? Okay, so right off the bat, pistol squat is just a one-legged squat, okay, where the other leg's kicked out straight in front of you. It's almost like you're doing an L sit with one leg, and with the other leg you're squatting. It's demanding, it's tough. And the kickstand squat is, you can just do a YouTube search for that. But the kickstand squat is basically, it's a one-legged squat, but you've got both feet on the ground. Whichever leg is the primary mover, the other leg is kind of to the side, maybe a little bit behind, just kind of at an angle, largely for support, but it's also there for a little bit of extra help, just whatever's needed. So that's the kickstand squat. Okay, I'm close, but I'm not there yet. The supporting leg helps me balance, but it is also definitely providing a little strength assistance to the working leg. True, I'm right there with you. I do add weight, but I know that at least to an extent, it's just shifting more of the work to the supporting leg. Gotcha. Is there a benefit to adding weight in this circumstance, or am I better off just focusing on making the working leg do as much of the work as possible? Great question. That's also what's really cool about the kickstand squat, is it allows you to really isolate one leg, because we do so many things that are both legs at the same time. So some unilateral work is really great. And the world's full of people that can't do pistols. And so this allows you to really focus on one leg and have that other leg there as just a little life raft in case you need it. You might need it for a little bit of support, a little bit of balance, or maybe you chose a loading that you thought you were going to get 8 reps with, and you got 6, and those last 2 are just feel like you're climbing Mount Everest, and that other leg gives you just a little bit of help, whatever's the bare minimum needed to still put the lion's share of work on that primary leg. Now, for somebody like yourself, Deborah, who you're saying that no load at all is challenging for you, I wouldn't have any drama at all with you using no load whatsoever for the kickstand squat. That's also, again, why it's infinitely scalable. And when using no load, try to have your brain connected to your body, and just exactly like you're saying on your last sentence, is it better off on just focusing on making the working leg do as much of the work as possible? Yes. And that should be your goal, whether you are doing a pistol squat loaded or unloaded. Regardless of which camp you fall into, everyone's focus should be making the working leg do as much of the work as possible. That other leg will be involved. It will be, but the focus should be the working leg doing as much as possible. Okay. 2 more, I think, from Joshua L. I'm working on my strict pull-ups. Awesome. Strict pull-ups are cool. Most people would benefit from having more of them. I'm working on my strict pull-ups, but I don't have an appropriate band. Should I use other options to increase my strict pull-ups? For example, jumping pull-ups or floor-assisted pull-ups, and what's the best way to progress with them? Okay, so now you don't have a band, so maybe this is stupid of me to say, but I would say one of your goals should be to get yourself a nice set of resistance bands. The sooner the better. They're just really helpful. All things considered, I don't know what your financial situation is, but they're reasonably priced compared to you're going to buy a rower, an air bike, or a barbell. A set of resistance bands is reasonably priced, and I think you'll find them supremely beneficial in your goal to get yourself a strict pull-up. Now, you didn't say it, but I don't know if you have rings, but if you've got rings, ring rows, as I say, ring rows are fantastic. You really can develop strict upper body pulling capacity with ring rows. I know I sound like a broken record. The angle that you have your body at, the ring row is infinitely scalable. The farther you lean back, the more demanding the upper body pull is. And so you can make it whatever it is an appropriate hard set of 3, 5, 7, 9, 12, 15 for you. You can make it feel like an easy 15, or like you can make it feel like Fran and anything in between. You can increase or you could decrease the tempo of the, increase the tempo to make it longer. So the pull to your chest, have that happen over a 1, 2, 3 count. Hold at your chest for 1 or 2 seconds, and then slowly on the extend. And you can now do fewer reps that are taking more time and attention. You're going to get strong that way as well. You can eventually put your feet up on a box. Your body's now parallel with the ground. Those are really difficult ring rows as well. You can do, what is that when you have like a barbell and you put it in like a squat rack and you secure it properly in the squat rack? I've heard them called like Aussie pull-ups. And you're seated under the barbell, and so you're getting a little bit of leg assist, but you're primarily doing an upper body strict pull-up, but you're getting a little bit of leg to help you there, and they're not quite as difficult as regular pull-ups. You can do that as well. You can do those with the rings also. So you can set your rings. Imagine you're sitting on the floor, the rings are above you, your butt's on the floor, your hamstrings on the floor, you're sitting like in an L position. Extend your arms up over your head, both arms, and grab the rings, whatever position that happens to be for you. Keeping your body in that L, now pull with your arms and your body will seesaw like that. Easier than a regular pull-up, but you can also play with the position of your legs to make it really, really difficult, and you'll slowly start to get stronger that way as well. You can do negatives and static holds. They're demanding and potent, okay? And they can really break down some muscle tissue, so be aware of that. Don't do a whole bunch initially, but holding your chin over the bar in static holds, holding the rings to your chest, getting your chin over the bar, and then doing some slow negatives down. Same with the rings. Those can be great ways to improve your strength as well. Okay, all right, let's see. Final question from Adam F. Hey Pat, brand new member here. Welcome, Adam. And excited to try out the program. I've heard great things about it for years. How do you help athletes assess their level of fitness and expectations as they get older? I've been doing CrossFit since 2011 and I just turned 36. Sadly, my fitness has been on a decline since 2019 due to some injuries and a change in lifestyle. Life gets in the way and the level of commitment to training is no longer there. I do still train 5 days a week, but I don't throw down with the bros like I used to. As I've aged since my peak level of fitness, I'm finding myself questioning what my fitness benchmarks should be. I feel in the dark and I'm unsure what goals are obtainable. Okay, great. So maybe some other members can help as well when I post this, but we've done multiple podcasts before about, redefining your goals, fitness over the years, and all that good stuff. But I would say, first of all, you're a young man, my friend, 36 years old. Now, redefining your goals, or what are obtainable. I still think, again, I don't know too much about you at the moment, but at 36 years old, I bet we could go over your various benchmarks, lifts, named workouts, and find plenty of areas that you're going to still have some wonderful gains in the years ahead of you. So I don't think we need to put you out to pasture just yet. I would say I find it helpful personally. I find it very cliche and annoying every now and then, like the know your why. But there is something to that, asking yourself, why are you training? Okay, so let's say for a second that maybe you're at the phase in life that you're never going to PR Fran ever again. Okay, and actually, I believe I fall into that camp. Fran was my bread and butter in my early and mid 30s, and it's just, I'm not going to touch those times anymore. Okay, so I'm never going to PR Fran ever again. Does that mean a high intensity couplet of thrusters and pull-ups doesn't have training value to my athletic development? Clearly not. And so I have to reframe that. Even if I never touch that old PR, the stimulus have value. Maybe all of us will hit it. If we train forever, all of us will have a point in our lives where you'll never PR your back squat ever again. Does that mean squatting doesn't have utility or value? Clearly not. The training stimulus in and of itself, if you want to be a different human being, that's capable and can live independently and can say yes to things, training has that value. So understanding like why are you walking into the gym, regardless of what phase in life you're in, figure that out and identify that. And I bet you do have things that you could still achieve as PRs. Maybe different things. What's your plank hold? Try to add 1 minute to that. Increase your strict pull-ups. Get yourself a strict ring muscle up if you don't have one. With the jump rope we talked about earlier, have you always just done double unders? Can you do 100 unbroken single unders? Can you do 150? Can you do running step single unders? Can you do arm crossovers? Like all these different things that maybe you haven't explored that might keep things fresh and new and exciting for you and give you goals. Also, people have talked about, and I do like this, it's easier said than done because people get in their own heads, but somebody, I can't take credit for this, said that they reset their PRs every 5 years once they hit like master's age. Now you can identify master however you want, but in CrossFit, they picked 35 years old. So if when you hit 35, you forget about all your old PRs, and then from what does it be? 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. Is that how it goes? Or 35 to 39? 35 to 39. 35 to 39 for that 5-year block. You reset your old PRs, and now the next time you back squat, it's a PR for the 35 to 39-year-old 5-year block range that you're in. It's the new Helen PR. It's a new whatever PR. And then guess what? When you hit 40, you reset those PRs. You forget about them. And now for 40 to 44, you start with a clean slate. For 45 to 49, you start with a clean slate. That's actually really cool because if you're 53 and you're looking at your Fran time from 37, that might bum you out. So if you want to keep training in this game forever, there are some things like that you can play that I think will be very beneficial. With regards to, you said you don't throw down with the bros like you used to. You're new. Every Friday, I post a video in the private Facebook group and in the squads feature, in the Linchpin squad and the BTWB app, and it's about modulating intensity for the upcoming week's workouts. Being new to Linchpin, I would encourage you to watch, first of all, watch the podcast. There's a daily video that I attach to each workout. Watch that each day and watch those modulating intensity videos. If you continue to do that day after day, week after week, and month after month, that strength and conditioning IQ, that fitness IQ that we've spoken about a couple times in this episode, will increase and answer some of these problems for you, some of these questions for you. Also, do you want to know what some of you said, I'm unsure what goals are obtainable? Here's a goal, my friend. Ready? Stay in the game. Be consistent. And you will be at the top of the pyramid if you just endure and survive. And here's what I mean by that. I touched on this earlier in the episode. I just want to speak for my own country, for the United States, but I think this is probably the same in the rest of the world. Most people are not in a good state of fitness, of health, of strength and conditioning. Most people are not pursuing fitness. Most people are not making good nutritional choices. Most people are far too sedentary. And so maybe if you look at your numbers compared to some beast, you feel bad, but the mere fact is, if you look globally at where you rank, you're like a beast. By the mere fact that you're squatting, deadlifting, running, I don't even care what your numbers or lifts are, you're a beast. You're an elite company because you're 36 and you're still chasing it and getting after it. And every 5 years, every year that goes by, more people drop off. More people find a reason why they don't do it. And if you just hang around and stick in this thing for the long term, with every year that goes by, you get bumped up and up and up and up in the beast level. Because most people who are, I'll give you this. So I interview Linchpin members all the time. I post a Linchpin member interview every Tuesday. Go to our YouTube channel and there's a playlist entitled Linchpin member interviews. I interviewed a woman yesterday who lives in New Zealand. She might be the oldest member in Linchpin. We've got people, I say this all the time, in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. We have people who are beginner, intermediate, and advanced, all marching forward together. Her name is Kay, and she's 69 years old. Think of what most 69-year-olds in your community are doing. Do you know what Kay was doing the other day? Squat cleans. Kay was doing squat cleans at 69 years old. Um, do you need to know the load on the barbell to know whether or not she's a beast and different than her peers? Nope. All you need to know is that at 69 years old, Kay's still in the game. She's still choosing to pursue strength and conditioning, and she's doing squat cleans. Point is, by just showing up every day and choosing to show up, and you hang in there, you are winning. You are winning. Define your fitness goals however you want, but show up every day and make the decisions that will help you do that. Surround yourselves with the people in the community that will help you do that. This is a long-term game. So that would be my advice and recommendation. Okay, my friends. Hopefully this went well. Again, I'm doing this on my phone. I usually do it on my external monitor, so we'll see how this goes. I don't even know how to shut this thing off, to be honest with you. I never do this. So let's see. Have a great day. Keep being cool to one another, and we'll see you later. Let's see. There's a little arrow up in the top. Well, what's this? What does this say? Nope. I don't want to hit that. I'm going to hit this. Okay. Goodbye, everybody. Are you sure you want to stop streaming? Yes, I'm sure.